Hello everyone! Today we are going to talk about pronunciation. I want to talk about a pronunciation mistake that many Brazilians make. It's a mistake that I used to make even after studying English for many years. So there's a big chance that you are also making this mistake. Stay with me, watch this video, and at the end of the video, please let me know in the comments below if this video helped you or not. So let's get started. Take a listen and try to find the mistake in these 3 sentences. I called my mom yesterday. I learned to drive last year. I loved the movie. Could you find the mistakes? Let's find out. The problem is in the pronunciation of the words that finish in ed. I pronounced them this way. Call it, learn it, love it. But in fact, they should be pronounced called, learned, loved. Can you notice the difference? One more time. Call it, called. Learn it, learned. Love it, loved. Can you notice the difference? Exactly. We don't pronounce the E in words that finish in ed. One more time. Repeat after me. Called, learned, loved. Okay, now you know that. But there is something else that we need to pay attention to. Take a listen and try to find the difference in the pronunciation of ed in these 2 words. Learned, worked. Learned, worked. Did you get it? Yes. In learned, the D sounds like D, but in worked, the D sounds like T. But why? It's very simple. It depends on the last sound before ed. There are 2 cases. If the sound is soft, if it vibrates in your throat, the D sounds like D. For example, learned, learned, learned. The sound that comes before ed is the N sound. Learn. Put your hand on your throat and pronounce it. Learn, learn. Can you feel the N vibrating in your throat? That's a soft sound. So when you pronounce learned with the ed at the end, the D sounds like D. Let's check the pronunciation of the examples that I showed you before. Repeat after me. Called. Call, L vibrates in your throat. So the D should sound like D. Called, called. Loved, love vibrates in your throat. So the D sounds like D. Loved, loved. Now the second case is when the verbs that end in ed have a sharp sound before ed. The sharp sound means that it doesn't vibrate in your throat. Let me give you some examples. Worked, work. Before ed, the sound is K, right? K, k. Work. K. Put your hand here on your throat. Can you feel it vibrating when you pronounce K? Work. K. It doesn't vibrate, right? So the D sounds like T. Worked, worked. Let's check some other examples. Kiss, kiss. It doesn't vibrate. So kissed is the correct pronunciation. Another one. Washed, washed, wash. It doesn't vibrate. So the D sounds like T. Washed. Simple, isn't it? But you might be asking yourself, but how can I understand the pronunciation of the words without putting my hand on my throat? It looks very strange to have to put my hand on the throat all the time. Yes, you're right. We don't do that naturally, right? but you're going to start understanding, start noticing the difference between soft sounds before ed and sharp sounds before ed. So you're going to start understanding that the R sound, the L sound, the N sound sound soft. So you should pronounce the D like D. On the other hand, if the sounds are T or S or K, they are very sharp. So we pronounce the D as T, okay? Alright, now before we finish this video, let's talk about two exceptions. They are very simple, very easy to remember. If the words finish in did, D-E-D, or TED, T-E-D, the pronunciation is the same that you've probably been using your whole life. Let's practice. Visited, visited, decided, decided, committed, committed. You see? You were pronouncing those words correctly. Okay, you learned it. You learned the rules. Now, time for homework. This week, I want you to pay attention to the words that finish in ed in everything, in all the content that you consume. TikTok videos, Instagram posts, videos on YouTube, texts, books, everything. Every time you find a word that finishes in ed, stop a little bit and practice the pronunciation of that word aloud. By the end of the week, you will have corrected your pronunciation of the words that finish in ed. That's it for today's video, guys. In the next week, I will post another video for you guys to practice listening to me talk about how I learned English, and I will use a lot of verbs that end in ed, so you will practice listening to ed sounds a lot in that video. If you don't know me, my name is Eliana Capioto. I am an English teacher. I am Brazilian, but right now I am based in Japan. And my specialty is to help Brazilians to move from the basic level and intermediate level and reach the fluency that they dream of having. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps me a lot, and my channel is just starting, so your thumbs up are very important for me. And also subscribe and click on the bell button for you to get notified every time a new video is out. And I have a question. Do you prefer videos about pronunciation in English or in Portuguese? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching and see you next week in the next video. Bye bye!